Hello children, this is Sweta here and I'm again back with my another video of the topic understanding quadrilaterals. So in this video I will be going to solve question number 1 to question number 6 of exercise 3.3 of the NCERT grade 8 textbook. Okay, so let's begin our class. So this is exercise 3.3 question number 1. Given a parallelogram ABCD, so here there is a parallelogram ABCD. Complete each statement along with the definition or property used. Okay, so we have already studied in my previous video all the properties of a parallelogram, right? Those who did not watch that video, I'm requesting please go back and watch that video first, because then only when I solve these questions it will be going to helpful for you. Okay, now I'm going to do a quick recap of all the properties of a parallelogram. The very first property was in a parallelogram, the opposite sides are of equal measure. Okay. In a parallelogram, the opposite sides are of equal measure. Second property we have studied was opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. Okay. Third property, the adjacent angles in a parallelogram are supplementary. Supplementary means the sum of the adjacent angle will be 180 degree. And the fourth property which we have studied was the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other, means they are getting divided in two equal halves. So now by keeping all those properties in our mind, I am going to solve these questions. So the first one is AD is equal to, now AD is a side, right? So the side AD is equal to which side? So we know that in a parallelogram opposite sides are equal. So the side which is opposite to AD is BC. So I will be writing over here as AD is equal to BC, and the reason is opposite sides in a parallelogram are equal. Okay. Now the next question is angle DCB. DCB is equal to what? Now when we write an angle using three letter, always the letter in the middle, we have to look for that. So here the letter which is in the middle is C, means I am talking about the angle which is formed at vertex C. So angle DCB is equal to which angle? This is your angle DCB. This is equal to which angle? So the angle which is opposite to DCB is DAB, this angle, right? So here we have to write angle DAB, and the reason will be opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. Third one, OC. Now OC is a part of the diagonal AC. Okay, and we know that in a parallelogram the diagonals bisect each other. So OC will be equal to OA. So here OC will be equal to OA, and the reason is diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. Now the fourth question. Now don't get confused with this letter M written over here. You have to read it as measure of angle DAB plus measure of angle CDA. So where is your angle DAB? So DAB is this angle, okay, and CDA is this angle. Now if we know here these two angles are the adjacent angle, and we know that in a parallelogram the adjacent angles are supplementary. So the sum supplementary means it will be 180 degree. So the property is adjacent angles in a parallelogram are supplementary. Now we'll move to the next question. So here in question number 2, it is given that consider the following parallelograms. Find the values of unknowns x, y and z. So here ABCD is a parallelogram and measure of angle B is given as 100 degree. Right? You have to find the value of x, y and z. So first we will see here that angle which is opposite to angle B is angle D. And we know that in a parallelogram the opposite angles are equal. So by using that property, we can find the value of y. Okay, so the value of y will be equal to 100 degree, right? Because we know that in a parallelogram, opposite angles are equal. Now, if you see here angle B and angle C, okay, both the angles are adjacent angle. And we know that in a parallelogram, the adjacent angles are supplementary. It means the sum will be 180 degree. So from here, I will calculate the value of x. So I can write here 100 degree plus x is equal to 180 degree. So the value of x will be 180 degree minus 100 degree, which will give me the value of x as 80 degree, right? So now I have a value of x, I have a value of y. Now we have to find the value of z. And what we can see from here, that angle A and angle C are opposite angle, right? We already know the value of x, which is 80 degree. So since opposite angles are equal in a parallelogram, so the value of z will also be 80 degree, right? So from here I can write the value of z is equal to 80 degree, because opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. Now moving to the second part of the question number 2. Now here also you have to find the value of x, y and z, right? So if you see here, this x and 50 degree, both the angles are adjacent angle, isn't it? And we know that in a parallelogram, the adjacent angles are supplementary. So from here, I can get the value of x. So the value of x will be 180 degree minus 50 degree. And what is 180 minus 50 degree? It will give you 130 degree, right? So now we know the value of x as 130 degree. Now once I get the value of x, now we know that x and y, they are opposite angles, right? So I can write x will be equal to y. Why? Because opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. So can I say from here that the value of y will also be equal to 130 degree. So now I know the value of x, I know the value of y. I have to find this value z. So we know that in a parallelogram, the opposite sides are parallel, right? So if I consider this line and this line as a parallel, okay, this two is parallel, then this is my transversal, right? And when these two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then what will happen? Then the corresponding angles will be equal. And if you see here, angle x and angle z, they are corresponding angle, okay? And when two lines are parallel, which is cut by a transversal, then the corresponding angles will be of equal measure. So from here I can say that x and z will have equal measure, because they are corresponding angles, right? So x will be equal to z. So the reason is they are corresponding angles. So from here I can write the value of z will be equal to 130 degree. So here x is also 130 degree, y is also 130 degree, and z is also 130 degree. Now we'll move to the next question. Okay, so in this figure also you have to find the value of x, y and z. Okay, now this is 90 degree. So if the value of this is 90 degree, what will be the value of x? Tell me, what are these two types of angle? These two are vertically opposite angle, right? So if this is 90 degree, the value of x is also 90 degree, because they are vertically opposite angles. Now once you get the value of x as 90 degree, now you take this triangle, okay, where x plus y plus 30 degree will be equal to 180 degree. Why? Because in a triangle, the sum of the three angles will be 180 degree, right? This is the angle sum property of a triangle. Now we already know the value of x. Now x is 90 degree. Now I'm going to put the value of x as 90 degree here, and I will calculate the value of y. So if I write here x as 90 degree, so it will become 90 degree plus y plus 30 degree is equal to 180 degree. And then 90 plus 30 will give me 120 degree, right? So y plus 120 degree is equal to 180 degree. So the value of y will be 180 degree minus 120, which will give me 60 degree, right? So the value of x is 90, the value of y is 60 degree. Now if you see this figure again, this is a parallelogram. So it means the opposite sides will be parallel, isn't it? So if I take this side and this side as parallel, okay, then what will happen? If I am taking my this side, okay, this side and this side as parallel, and this is my transversal, right? This is going to be my transversal. Then Y and Z are forming which type of angle? Think about it. We have already done in my previous video, when two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then what and all are equal, right? I have explained this property in my previous video. So here Y and Z are alternate interior angles, right? So both the alternate interior angles will be equal. So the value of Z, I will get it from here, will also be equal to 60 degree, which will be equal to the value of Y. So the measure of X is 90 degree, the value of Y is 60 degree, and the value of Z is also 60 degree. Now we will see the next question. Now in the next question also you have to find the value of X, Y and Z. Okay. So if you see here, one of the angle measure is given as 80 degree. So if this is 80 degree, the angle opposite to it will also be 80 degree. So the value of Y will be equal to 80 degree because opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal, isn't it? So once you get the value of Y as 80 degree, now think about it. X and 80 degree, they both are adjacent angle, right? And what we know that in a adjacent angle, the sum will be supplementary. So can I write X plus 80 degree as 180 degree? Yes, right? Now from here I can calculate the value of X, which will be equal to 180 degree minus 80 degree. And 180 degree minus 80 degree will give me 100 degree, isn't it? So the value of X is 100 degree. Now if you see here again, this line and this line is parallel, and this is your transversal, right? Now I'm going to draw the line, I'm going to extend it such that it will become more clear to you. This line and this line both are parallel, and this is your transversal. So when two parallel lines are cut by transversal, then what will happen with Z and 80 degree? Are they forming a corresponding angle? Yes, right. So the value of Z will be equal to 80 degree. And what is the reason? The reason is corresponding angles are equal. Clear? Now this is the last question of question number 2. Here also you have to find the value of X, Y and Z. Okay. So first of all, you'll see here, this value is given as 112 degree. Now, if this angle is 112 degree, the angle which is opposite to it, which is Y, that is also equal to 112 degree. Right? So I can write Y is equal to 112 degree, and the reason will be opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. Clear? Now, if I take this triangle, okay, if I take this triangle, X plus Y plus 40 degree will be equal to 180 degree. Why? Because we know that in a triangle, sum of the three angles are 180. This is the angle sum property of a triangle. Now I'm going to put the value of Y here, and I will get the value for X. So it will be X plus 112 degree plus 40 degree will be equal to 180 degree. So it will be X plus 152 degree equal to 180. So the value of X I will get as 180 minus 152 degree, which will give me 28 degree, right? So the value of X is 28 degree. Now as it is given in the question that this is a parallelogram, so it means opposite sides will be parallel. So if I take this side and this side as parallel and this as my transversal, then what will happen? The X and Z, they will form alternate interior angles, right? So I'm going to extend this line such that it will be more clear to you. This and this, they both are parallel line, right? And this is my transversal. So what will happen? This angle X and this angle Z, both are alternate interior angle, isn't it? So I can write X will be equal to Z by, because it is alternate interior angle. And from here I can write the value of Z will be 28 degree. Clear? Now we'll move to next question. Now it says that can a quadrilateral ABCD be a parallelogram if angle D plus angle B is equal to 180 degree? Okay, so I have taken one parallelogram ABCD and it is given that if the sum of angle D and angle B If it will be 180 degree, then can it be a parallelogram? So I can say that if I take angle D and angle B, both as 90 degree, also I am getting my sum as 180 degree, right? This criteria is getting satisfied. And when angle D and angle B is 90 degree, then what will happen? It may form a rectangle or it may form a square. And we know that rectangle and a square both are parallelogram, right? So here in this case, I can say it can be possible. Okay, not in all the cases, but it can be possible to have a parallelogram if sum of the angle D and angle B is 90 degree. Okay. Second part is if AB equal to DC equal to 8 centimeter and AD equal to 4 centimeter, BC equal to 4.4 centimeter. Okay, so let us write all the values. AB is given as 8 centimeter. DC is also given as 8 centimeter. AD is 4 and this is 4.4. Right. So will ABCD be a parallelogram? I will say no. Why? Because the property of a parallelogram says that opposite sides should be equal. Now here if you see AB and DC, they are equal. Opposite sides are equal. But what about AD and BC? Are they equal measure? No, right? So we can say it cannot be a parallelogram. Why? The reason is AD is not equal to BC. It cannot be parallelogram. The reason being AD is not equal to BC, right? Now I will move to next question. Now here again it is given as the angle measure of A and C. Now angle measure for A is 70 degree and angle measure for this is given as 65 degree. Can we say that it will form a parallelogram? So in a parallelogram, we know that opposite angles are equal, right? So here also parallelogram is not possible. Okay, in this case also parallelogram is not possible because the opposite angles are not equal, right? So here also it cannot be a parallelogram. It cannot be a parallelogram. And what will be the reason? Because opposite angles are not equal, right? Here angle A is not equal to angle C. So it can't form a parallelogram. Okay, now move to next question. So question number 4 says that draw a rough figure of a quadrilateral that is not a parallelogram but has exactly two opposite angles of equal measure. So the figure should be quadrilateral. It means it should have four sides, right? It is not a parallelogram means it should not have the properties of a parallelogram and two opposite angles should be equal measure. So the quadrilateral is kite because in a kite only the adjacent sides are equal. Okay, so if you see in a kite this and this adjacent sides are equal, this and this adjacent sides are equal and only one pair of opposite angles are equal. So the quadrilateral is kite. Now we'll move to next question. The measure of two adjacent angles of a parallelogram are in the ratio 3:2. Find the measure of each angles of the parallelogram. So here adjacent angles are given in the ratio. So let's take a parallelogram. Here ABCD is a parallelogram and we can take any pair of the adjacent side and we can solve this question. So whenever question has given some value in ratio, your first step should be let the ratio be x. So the angle will become, adjacent angles will become 3x and 2x. So I have taken angle A and angle D as my adjacent angle. You can take any other pair also. And what we know that in a parallelogram, the adjacent angles are supplementary, right? So from here I can write 3x plus 2x will be equal to 180 degree. And what is 3x plus 2x? 3x plus 2x will give me 5x equal to 180 degree. So the value of x will be 180 degree divided by 5, which will be equal to 36 degree. Now I got the value of x, right? But the question says that you have to find the measure of each of the angles. Means you have to find the value of A, B, C and D. So first I will find the value of angle A. So angle A is 3x, right? Which is equal to 3 into 36 degree. And what is 3 into 36 degree? It will give me 108 degree. Now angle D will be equal to 2x, which is 2 into 36 degree. And 2 into 36 degree is 72 degree. Now once I get the value of angle A and D, now we will use the property that in a parallelogram opposite angles are equal. So if angle A is 108 degree, angle C will also be 108. If angle D is 72 degree, angle B is also 72 degree. So from here I can write angle A is equal to angle C and the value will be equal to 108 degree. Same way, angle B is equal to angle D is equal to 72 degree. And for both, reason is opposite angles are equal. Okay, opposite angles are equal in a parallelogram. See, in solving questions, it is very important to write the properties. If you not write the properties, you may lose your marks in the exam. Now moving to the next. So question number 6 says that two adjacent angles of a parallelogram have equal measure. Find the measure of each of the angles of the parallelogram. So here I have taken ABCD as my parallelogram and you can take any two adjacent angle of same measure. Okay, so let us take the equal adjacent angle be x, right? So if you take the adjacent angle be x, here I am taking angle A as x and angle D as also x, right? And we know that in a parallelogram, the adjacent angles are supplementary. So from here, I can write that x plus x will be equal to 180 degree. So 2x will be equal to 180 degree, right? So the value of x will be 180 degree divided by 2, which is equal to 90 degree. So angle A is 90 degree, angle D is also 90 degree. And as it is given that it is a parallelogram, so we know that opposite angles will become equal, right? So angle A will become equal to angle C, and angle A is 90 degree, so angle C will also become 90 degree. Same way angle D is 90 degree, so angle B will also be 90 degree because they are opposite angles. So all the angles will become right angle. Okay, so angle A is equal to angle C equal to 90 degree and angle B is equal to angle D is also 90 degree. The reason is for both opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. Okay, opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. Now think of a parallelogram where all the angles are 90 degree. Okay, think about it. In which parallelogram all the four angles are 90 degree. So the parallelogram are, it can be either rectangle or it can be square, because in rectangle as well as in a square all the angles are right angle. Okay, so that's all for today's class. Please like, share and subscribe my channel, and if you have any particular doubt in any of the question, you can write it in the comment box. Okay, that's all for today's class. Thank you.